Welcome back to iClone3D.com, the #1 place for all your animation needs. So here we've got a mask, and what we're going to look at is how we can apply textures to different areas of the mask, how we actually apply the textures, and yeah, just a basic kind of workflow to do so. So what we're going to do is we're firstly going to just select the mask. And when we select it, you can see it's selected it as a whole object. Now, even though this is in different pieces, you can still also select it as a whole object. Now, if I double click on just the horns, you can see we can move just the horns as well. But if we select it as a whole object and come over here to our materials tab, and if we come to the top, you're going to see here we've got the material list. Now, this list contains all the information that exists in this mesh here. So it will have all the different materials that you can individually place on each of the different sections. So sometimes you're going to load in a prop and it's not going to be broken down into different parts. It's just going to be one whole prop, one whole mesh, but it's going to have all of the different components in your material list. So that's one way you're going to have to apply it. So you'll just select the part and you'll come down here to your texture settings and you'll add the textures, and you'll do so forth for each different one. So what we're going to do here, because we are fortunate enough to actually have the mesh broken into different parts, so we can select the teeth, the earrings, etc. We're going to load the color textures in based on what component we've got selected. So firstly, we're going to select the horns. And now you can see we've only got one material in the list because we've got the horns selected directly. And what I've done is I've pre-saved my textures into my custom folder, something that I suggest you get used to doing as well, kind of this workflow of really organizing yourself and organizing all your parts and components. It will really help your workflow in the future. So here you can see under our media tab, we've got textures, and I've got the Oni mask here. So we've got all of the different textures here, and you can see we've got a diffuse, a normal, and we've got a diffuse for the earrings, and we've got a roughness map. So what we essentially want to do is our diffuse map contains all of the information for all of the different body parts. So for all of the different parts of the mask. So when we select a different part, all we have to do is drag on the diffuse map for each of the different parts, and it will map the correct texture for that component. So for example, the horns, we're going to drag the diffuse map onto the horns here. So we've got them on the horns, and we're just going to drop, and you're going to see that's now added some black horns. Now, again, the same thing with the bump map. So what we want to do then is we want to just drag the normal map into the bump section here, and then we want to click OK for normal. And what that's going to do is that's going to add all them little minute textures to the horn. So if you can see, we've got some nice little textures going on there and there. If I undo it, you'll see it's really smooth and just a smooth mesh. It looks, almost too smooth to be horns. But if I redo that, put that bump map back on, you can see those nice little textures that are introduced. So really, really important to always kind of place your bump maps on, because it is going to give you the best results. So again, now the same diffuse map, when we select the overall face and we drag the diffuse map on, you're going to see it's going to map the correct textures to the part of the mask. So now that maps the nice red face. So again, really, really simple to do, but sometimes it's quite difficult to understand. And, people think you might have to have individual maps for the individual components. But, in a lot of cases, the diffuse map is going to be mapped out for all of the individual parts. You just need to select the part and then drag the map onto that part, and it will correctly identify what textures need to go there. So as you can see, it's added the nice little yellow blemishes to the teeth. If I undo it, you'll see we've just got some plain white teeth. And if I redo that, you can see that diffuse map has mapped the correct textures of the teeth. So, really, really simple to understand once you get the gist of it. So again, we're going to do the same thing here for these teeth, and we're going to do the same thing for these teeth here. Just selecting it, and we're just dragging and dropping the exact same diffuse map, but it's automatically finding the correct textures that it needs to map to the correct parts. So really, really simple to do, guys. Now remember, we haven't added the bump map, so again, we're going to now click on the components and we're going to add the bump map for each of those individual parts, and we're going to click OK on normal. and that's going to then add some nice extra textures, as you can see. So it really does texture it all up and make it really pop a lot more, gives a lot more detail. And we're going to do the same thing here for the teeth. Just drag in and drop in the exact same bump map, and it will map the correct textures to that component of the mask. So this is really, really simple to do, guys. And you know, it's just something to really get the hang of and really learn how to kind of add your textures onto your model, because, you know, it's really important, wanting to be a professional animator, just to get a kind of understanding of how texturing works. And you can do some really, really incredible stuff here in iClone. You can see the nice bumps, the nice normal maps, are adding some nice textures to those teeth. Again, we'll just click this one, we'll add the normal maps. But, you know, it really is a simple process once you get the hang of it. And now finally, we're going to move on to this little dot here on the head. We're just going to again add the diffuse map, and it will map the correct texture needed for that part. So you can see it's this nice black texture. Again, we're going to add the normal map as well, just to give it that further more detail, a little bit more depth, and add some like decal to the components. And finally, we're just going to do the earrings. And again, we're just going to drag the diffuse for the earrings onto the earrings, and that will create the nice gold earrings. And we'll drag the bump map, and we'll hit OK. And perfect. And there we have it. Now we've got this really scary looking Oni mask, textured up and looking incredible, great, and ready to use in your scene. So, you know, really is that simple, guys, to really start adding textures to your scenes and just really getting an understanding of it, how them diffuse maps work, and, you know, how they kind of map out to all of the different individual components automatically. All you have to do is drag and drop. So really hope this tutorial helps. Really hope it helps give you an understanding of how to texture your objects and your props, and how the materials list works, etc. We are going to look at another tutorial on how to texture components that aren't individually broken down and they're just one mesh, how we can use the material list to then add those textures in. But for now, I really hope this tutorial helps, and really hope to see you guys again soon for another tutorial.